Welcome to today's episode of the Beach Boss Influencers Show. Today, it's Carrie Hyam and Brandy Shaver, and we are going to be talking about growing a big business fast as a full-time mom with busy kids. When it comes to growing a business as a mom, we see this a lot, especially inside our community, where when people come to Beach Boss, they feel like it's like they have to make that choice between business and being a mom and having children and growing a business with children, right? And they feel like it's like they have to choose one or the
Either
other.
or. Yeah,
Yep.
either or. And I'm sure a
And
lot of you listening have heard the short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain, right?
yep.
And it's total BS. Carrie and I have done both ways. We've
Mhm.
done the short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, and it didn't end up as fancy as we wanted it to. In fact, it doesn't work out real well.
No.
or your kids and relationships that you really want to keep. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're
And
gonna talk about it.
let's get authentic, right? Let's talk about some of these times. Like when Brandy and I first started growing our business, we were building it traditionally, and it was like old school. We were driving all over the place trying to, find our next prospect. That's what we did. And it was hours in the car each week. And a lot of times we left our children because anybody who's growing a business, right? Sometimes it feels easier to just leave your kid with the nanny. Or for us, we couldn't afford a hotel room in some of the places we were going. So we were sleeping in our car in like a Walmart parking lot in Vegas and some of these other places. And so I didn't feel like it was even safe to bring my own kids. But as we were growing this, like those first 2 years, I had two little boys. I guess one little boy when we first got started.
Yeah,
I was pregnant with the second one. But like I watched my boys grow up through text messages those first 2 years of trying to grow my business, and it broke me. Like it got to the point where I told Brandy and I were building together, right? And I told my husband, I was like, I can't keep doing this.
I'm done, she said.
Yep. And because I don't know about you, but I started this business. I started in this industry because I wanted time freedom and I wanted time with my kids. And here I was trading those precious moments with my kids in thinking, "Oh, it's only for a little bit." Right?
Short
And
term, yeah,
it's
like
short term. It's just
it
short
won't last
term.
long. I'll get
It
it built and it will all be fancy.
Yep. And 2 years later, I had missed so much. Right? And Brandy, I know that you have, instances too
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
yeah.
Where my daughter was in drill team. The only time she ever tried out for anything, her whole high school year, senior year, she decided she was confident and ready to, join a sports team, dance team. She was so excited, and I missed a lot of those dances, and because
Mhm.
of that short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, and it damaged our relationship to a point where I had to work at like fixing that. So
Yep.
it's we don't we and we had to find a different way. We had to find a way that worked for us because Carrie and I were in the same boat. I couldn't keep
Mhm.
leaving my kids. I couldn't keep leaving him with my oldest kids. I couldn't keep, paying for a nanny and being gone all the time. And we weren't getting the results we wanted in that kind of process anyway.
No.
So
No, and honestly, it got to where you and I were both resenting our businesses,
mhm.
and our kids were resenting us and our business as well. So, as we go throughout this episode, we're speaking from experience. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
We were looking for a different way to grow, and that was the number one reason that we were looking for a different way to grow. And it was like shortly after that. It was January of 2016 when I quit. I told Brandy and Whit, I'm out. Like, figure out a different way to do this or I'm done. And it was shortly after that that we discovered influence marketing and learning how to grow an audience and attract
Mhm.
them to us and build influence and do these things that we talk about all the time here inside the Beach Boss
And
Influencers
doing it
Show.
from home where we didn't have to leave our kids anymore. And
Yeah.
and that brings another set of like issues if you think about it, right? Then you're just
Mhm.
home all the time trying to build a business. So, there's and people that build old school, don't get us wrong, it totally works. You can still
Absolutely.
do it.
Mhm.
It just didn't work for us.
Yep.
It just didn't wasn't a fit for us. So if you're building old school and you're loving it, keep doing it, man. Like, go
Yeah.
for it. Like, I
Yeah.
hats off to you because I could not make that work for me. So, It's
Mhm.
important to like make sure that we, draw our line in the sand. We aren't saying what we do is any better. Well, it's better for us, but
Yeah.
just so
And
you
if
know.
and if maybe you're joining us for the first time, maybe you don't even know who Brandy and I are. So this is Brandy. She has 6 kids, right? And I'm Carrie. I have 3 kids now. So we've kind of built a business between the 2 of us in every stage of your child's life,
Absolutely.
from
Mhm.
a brand new baby all the way to Brandy. She has kids that are in their 20s. And
Yeah,
so
there's my oldest is 26 right now. So
right. So we kind of between the 2 of us have experienced. I haven't yet. My oldest is 10, but between the 2 of us, we've experienced the growing pains and how you can and I guess in this episode, we wanna talk about ways that you can build that big business with kids without having to
from home.
sacrifice,
Hmm.
right? How to do it from home without sacrificing those moments that you'll never get back.
Right.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
let's talk about the first one, Brandy. Like, what's that
Yeah.
first of those
So
major
step
tips?
number one is setting a daily mode of operation, and this is going to boil down to for us we chose to build online. So there's
Mhm.
certain things that have to happen for you to actually build a business online. Just like there's
Yep.
certain things that have to happen if you have a traditional business, right? And
Mhm.
so setting a daily mode of operation or a DMO as we like to call it. And these are things that get done regardless of what is happening around
Yep.
you at your house, all of those.
Yeah.
Because we have found, and we find this in our team when we were building teams, is that a lot of us think about building our business a lot more than we're actually building our business. And what
Yep.
I mean by that is there's certain things that make you money, in the network marketing industry. There's certain things that are preparatory tasks that have to get done, especially if you're building online. And there's certain things that do a lot of different things online that are, that are
Yep.
more beneficial or more effective, right? And so you're going to have to figure those out based on, your company,
Mhm.
how that works for you and all those things, but setting a daily mode of operation, what gets done, what makes me money. And those
Yep.
are the main things you want to focus on, because let me tell you, you can do a ton of things online, right? You could be sucked into the social media hole for
Yep.
hours and get nothing done. So you've got to have a set, what do I do first, second, third, fourth, and how long does it
Mhm.
take me? That was the biggest thing for me that I think made the biggest difference building
Yep.
from home, is having that
And
daily mode of operation.
absolutely, and not only that, but one thing that we teach and one thing that Brandy and I grasped onto was putting the non-negotiables in first, right? When you're a mom and, your kid has baseball or they have basketball or dance or gymnastics or whatever your kids are involved in, those things are important. It's not just important to you, but it's even I would say even more important to your
So
kid,
you did.
right?
Yeah.
To the kid who is experiencing it, to have the support, to have the parent there cheering them on, it makes all the difference, right? And so for me, it's like I don't want to miss those games. Even if I am so sick of baseball, like it's the end of the season and I am like so sick of baseball, I'm so sick of going, it's in my calendar because it's that important to my child, right? So it's putting those non negotiable things in first and working your business around those non
Mhm.
negotiable things. Now, that doesn't mean that we make, everything a non-negotiable thing, right?
Right.
You have to set boundaries, but when you're able to put those things that are the most important in first and work your business around it, it gives you permission to be mom,
And that's
right?
the
To
really cool part too about building
yeah.
online, is that you can do that, right? Because
Yep.
there's people online all the time. But if you're just like building old school, it's people are only awake a certain term during the day, depending on how far you can drive, right? So for me, building online opened up all of the whole world instead of just my little area that I can drive to, right? So that's really important too, to remember that, yeah, put your non-negotiables in first and then get the work done, but
Yep.
getting the work done is, important too.
Yep. Absolutely. So, and that kind of brings us to the second thing because we can say, okay, we have all these non negotiables, but I don't know if you just saw, I told my kids before we hopped on this podcast that mom has to be on a podcast. Like, give me some time, right? Let me get it done and then we'll do whatever you're going to do. And yet, here comes Xandrix walking in, asking a question. Dems is down here playing with the kids. They're in the kitchen right now, right? So it's training your kids, right? Like I can look at my kids now. I couldn't always do this. It took training, but I can look at my kids and I can say, "I'm on a call. You're right, I'm on a call, give
Mhm.
me a few minutes, and I'll get to whatever it is that you need. And so training your family and I'm here to tell you that training your husband is gonna be a
Is the
heck of a
hardest
lot
part.
harder
The
than
hardest
training your
part.
kids. But it's training your family so that they know, like, "Okay, mom's working," because when you leave the house to go to an office, your kid knows I'm going to work, but when we
Mhm.
work from home, your office is home, and it's sometimes it can be hard for them, especially when they're 1 or 2, they don't get that mom's working, right? And so
Right.
something that I did for myself, and you can speak to this too, Brandy, is I would tell my kids, even Dems, as a little baby, right? I would nurse her, I would play with her right before I had to do something for 20 to 30 minutes. And I had that time blocked out for whatever it was I had to get done. And she got to where she knew when mom was done with that 20 to 30 minutes, I was fully done. And I would
Mhm.
give her my attention again.
Yeah, you aren't staring at your phone the whole time or the whole day and saying you're
Mhm.
working, right? That's doing a disservice to yourself and to your
Yep.
family and to your business. Honestly,
Yep.
like you can get a lot more done if you just set the time and get it done and then go back to your life. So that brings
Mhm.
us to the next piece, which is rewarding your family.
Yes.
So when you've trained them and they support you as best they can, right? Now think about Dems, she's, a 3-year
She's
old,
3.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
I
she has
only so
certain
much training can happen.
so much training can happen, right? Now I can just put my hand up like this to my kids and they know go away until mom comes out of the office, right? That
Mhm.
doesn't work when they're 3. I remember when River was 1, right? And I had to
Mhm.
hold her to do a live video because that's the only way I could get it done, right? It's the only way that would work.
Yep.
So rewarding your family after they've, you know, put up with your business building activities for a certain amount of time. And we're really good at this now. We used to not be, but
Yep.
we're really good at rewarding our families now with, trips or different things, ice cream,
Mhm.
pizza parties, things like that that they want to do
Yep.
is a really great way to reward your family.
Yep, and if you're, like, just starting your business and you're like, "Okay, rewards seem great, but I don't I'm just getting my business going. I don't have a lot of money to do a trip or to do something like that." For us, it was like a family movie night.
Hmm.
That was right? Like, it was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
if we get this done, right? If we hit this goal or we're gonna do a family movie night with popcorn and ice cream," right? Like, it was even it can be as simple as that, but it means the world to your kids, and it's a lot easier to train them. I mean, you think of a
Yeah.
dog, to train him to sit, you give him a treat. Right? To train your family, you give them a reward and it's like your business starts to become the family business that
Hmm.
way. They
Yeah.
don't resent the business, they don't resent the time that mom's working because they know that they're getting something out of it.
Right.
And
And
it
it's
works for your
important.
spouse as well.
Mhm. Yes, most important for your spouse, especially when the money's not coming in because they're
Yep,
like, "We see you spending all this time, building this business, but where's my reward? Where's the cash flow? Where is that freedom that you talked about?" Right? And so, starting from the beginning with those little rewards, like Carrie said, it could
mhm,
be a simple movie night where you buy them their simple, you can their favorite candy at the gas station, and you make
yep,
popcorn, right? Or you put a tent up in the living room and have a camp out or something, just some things that kids love doing, or your
yep,
spouse, I just want you know 2 hours of your time with no phone in your hand, those kind of things. So
yep,
it's really cool. So the next
yep,
piece is probably one of the most important one, and that is to show up even when everything's not perfect. So when we started this, my dogs were asleep, right? And then somebody came to the door. And so I was like, well, all right, just let them bark and move through it, right? We could have stopped it and
yep,
started over and started re-recording. But the cool thing about just showing up even when stuff is not perfect, like dogs barking or whatever, is you relate to other people
yep,
faster because they're like, oh, she's normal. She has a dog that barks when somebody, knocks on the door, or Dems, is coming up and talking to Carrie, or, Kate's with her kids, doing things in the background. It's part of who you are and it
here
will
comes the
build your
husband.
following
So
faster. The husband. Yeah,
I told you, the husband's the hardest one to train.
definitely.
But it
Definitely.
But here's the thing, like, your husband walking in or your kids or your dog, like Brandy had said, that makes you real. And when Brandy and I stopped trying to hush the kids, stopped trying to push
Mhm.
them out, that was when our business actually started to grow and we started to really attract people to us because they're like, "Man, like Brandy has 6 kids and she's still able to build this thing, and it's
She's
proof,
just
right? Like
like me.
she's just like me with the craziness happening all the time.
Mhm.
And that's the cool part about it is you start to really attract your tribe, and people that are turned off because you have your kid in the camera, or who are turned off because your husband answers a phone call when you're right next doing a call, right? That's happened in our community, by the way, right? People who are turned off by that are not your people, and you don't need those people, right? So, I mean, it's about being 100% yourself, letting your kids in on the adventure while you're doing it so that it becomes a family adventure rather than
Mhm.
just, oh, mom's business.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's important and it makes a huge difference. So, if you need more info on how to build online or you need help with your business and you're just
Yep.
wondering, okay, where do I start? There's going to be a link with this podcast where you can, grab that and you can get some free information.
Yep.
And you can join our free group and all those things and get a ton of tips and tricks and things to build
Mhm.
your own business, because I know for Carrie and I, when we found community with each other and the community we've built, and friends that we had that were doing the same things, that were on the same journey, then it was kind of like we were on this train together, right? In all the craziness that happens. And so if that's something you're looking for, grab the link and we'll see you next time on the next podcast.
Yep. I'll see you later.
Bye.